Hello, today I am going to discuss a software design pattern named Singleton pattern. You know, there are three types of software design pattern which was introduced by Gang of Four. They are creational patterns, structural patterns, and behavioral patterns. Singleton patterns comes under creational pattern, which discussed about the mechanism of object creation, and similarly Singleton pattern also discussed about object creation in a particular class. Today we will discuss that one. Okay, so why actually Singleton pattern needs? Sometimes it is important to maintain an exact one instance of a particular class. Let me take an example. Imagine most of the project we have to maintain data in a database. So then what we need to do, we have to create our database and we have to create a DB connection class in order to communicate with our real database. Then DB connection class can consist of DB connection function, which is the function define username, passwords about the database, and we create the define the other parameters as well. And also that DB connection class can consist of other functions to execute the queries like save function and retrieve function and modify function, which can include relevant queries. And assume in a particular system, so having a registration form, then user can enter data. So what the developer need to do, developer need to store this data to a database. Then first developer need to communicate with the DB connection class in order to access the DB connection class functions. Then developer can create another class and developer can call to the DB connection class. How we can create a DB connection class object to communicate the DB connection class. So we in Java we can use a DB connection, that is the DB class name and the reference name, that the name, object name, and new operator and the constructor of a DB connection class. That's how in Java we can create an object in order to call the other functions of a DB connection class. Then after creating this object, the developers can call to the function of the DB connection class. And in this case, I have added only one class like registration manager, but in a real case there may be number of classes in between DB connection class and registration. And also think about the login panel in a same system. So when the user log into the system, the developer need to check whether the user entered details are correct or not. So in that case, what the system or the developer can do, first developer can call to the DB connection class and can access the relevant usernames and password through the database, and inside the login manager can check whether the entered data and the stored data in the database are matching or not. So in that case also, the developer need to create an object in order to communicate with DB connection class, as illustrated in the figure. Not only that, so when considering the admin panel, admin also need to communicate with the database in order to save the data, in order to retrieve the data, or in order to modify the data. In that case also, then from the admin side also, if the admin side have many number of classes, in each classes, that means under each classes, the developer need to create a first DB connection object, and through that object need to call to the function. Then imagine, so in a real project, so this kind of classes, there are a number of classes can have which need to communicate with DB connection class. So in each case, so each class need to create an object of a DB connection class. If it is 100 classes, then in each classes need to create hundreds of objects. That means objects of a DB class, DB connection class. That means hundreds times. Okay, then let us think how we can solve this problem. So with the support of Singleton, so we can maintain a one instance. If we have, in this case, assume if we have one objects of a DB connection class as a global point, global access point, then the other class can access that global instance rather creating a object in a specific class. Then each other, that means other classes can access that global object and can call to the DB connection class functions. Let me take another example, then I will implement. Then you can understand what is actually design pattern. In this case, I consider the test file. The test file will be accessed by many users, say for example lecturer and student. In this case, lecturers want to save student results to a data file or test file. Then the student also can access the data, that means the results stored in the result test file. So then how we can implement this one? Okay, in this case you can observe there are three classes: file manager, lecturer and the student. So I'll already open my Apache NetBeans IDE 12.2 version. So you can use any IDE and you can use any WP language to program this activity. Okay, so for to implement this one, I have created a new project already, so I will plan to use that one. So very first I have to add a 3 class, so then one for file manager, another one for okay, I will mention lecturer file manager or something, so you can give a meaningful name. And student. Okay, so then file manager, I will go to the file manager. This is the file where I can access the test file. So for this case I will add 2 functions or three functions to save the file, save the results actually, and I will add a printing statement here. Test file writing function I have to add, writing function will be added later. So then for now I will add another function. I will public void. What's the other function? Viewed and modified. Actually you can add actually if you need, you can define here string or other type if you want to return the results to the client side. So then because of this is a demonstration, I'll keep only printing statement here. Here I have file, I have to add file reading. I will add this later, the particular code, file writing, and file modifying. Okay, so then the lecturer class save view modified. Okay, we go to the, in here also I have to add void. I will add save results. What else I can include? I will copy this one in order to save time, and save result, view results, and modify result. And similarly, I can add view function to a student file. Okay, so I save my code. Then inside the save result, I have to call to the file manager writing function. So then I have to create a file manager object here, file manager and I create object. And okay, so then I will use this object reference name to call. Then here I want to hold, and here in order to view the results, I have to call to the file managers view function, and here also to view the result, modify the results, I have to call to the modify function. Okay, so then same thing I have to do for the student file manager. So here I have to call file manager dot view, because student can only view the result. So let me check whether my code is working. So I will add a test file which should include my main method, and I will call to the, let's say, I'll define the string type result only for the testing purpose. Sam result grade is A, and let's lecturer to save the results. Then I have to call to the lecturer class and lecturer dot save results, and we have to add a parameter to send a result to the file. So then a test file, we have to include this one. Okay, so and from the file manager also we have to take the result. So then we can add parameter result, so we will print result here. Okay, so and I saved, no more errors, and I will run. Okay, you can see the I have correctly called to the file manager. So where the file manager is the class having file test writing codes and test reading code. So I haven't added those things to the file manager. Later I will add. For now my code is working properly. So then okay, so then let me slowly go through my code. This is my file manager. This is the place where I will add the test writing code, and this is the place where I will add test reading code. And when considering the lecture file manager, you can see I have created the file manager object in order to call the file manager function, and the student file also I have created the object of file manager in order to call the file manager view function. Let's assume there are other role like instructor, demonstrator, tutor. So in each case also we have to, if those users also need to communicate with the file manager, in under that classes also need to create the object of the file manager and need to call, and then only the particular classes can call to the file manager's function. Okay, now we will see how we can apply singleton pattern to this code, and how we can reduce these lines, and how we can define global instance of a file manager, then file manager in a way that other classes can access that global access point, rather creating objects inside the class. Okay, so then how we can create the singleton pattern. Very first, what the singleton pattern says, make the constructor private, because the normally when we creating a object from a class, first we call to the constructor of that particular class. If it is public, then other class can create any number of objects of that particular class. If it is private, then no other class can create object from that class. Then first of all we have to make the constructor private, that we are going to the class that we are going to make as singleton class. Then also we have to create a private static type instance of that particular class, because after setting the constructor private, other classes cannot create instance of that particular class. Then we have to create a global access point for that. Okay, let me demonstrate it. Okay, so we need to make our file manager class as a singleton class, because this is the class used by over and over again by other classes. So then how we can make this as singleton class? First we have to restrict the object creation. So normally object creation done by using constructor. So then we can set the constructor of this class private, then it will restrict the object creation of this class. Okay, private file manager, and then I make it the constructor private, then other classes cannot create an object. Now you can see there's two errors. One is in the lecturer file manager, then what it says, the file manager has private access in file manager. Okay, so now now we are not allowed these classes to create objects of file manager. Then how we can allow them to access the instance? So then there are several methods I will show. This is the lazy instantiation. So then you can see here, first of all we have to define an instance, this variable that means singleton type class instance, in order to save the created object. So let's go to our code. We have to create instance reference. After creating an instance, we have to save that instance to this variable. So then this should be private static type Okay, we'll check again. A private static type tick, and file manager type, that the file manager type instance. Okay, this should be this name should be same as the class name, because we are going to create a instance of file manager type. So then we have to define a function to create an instance of this file manager and allow other classes to access it. Okay, public static, and we have to return the object, then the file manager type object. I will name my method as getInstance. Okay, so then we have to now create the object of file manager. So then first we can check whether the file manager instance is null. So then we will check instance equal none. Then if it is null, then we have to return the objects of this class file name. Okay, and okay, let me check my code with this one. Okay, we create this function, and if the instance is null, then we will actually so return instance we will add after this if else statement. Okay, so here we have to assign actually instance, because we already create the reference of this file manager in here. Then we can save our object to that instance. And we can return that instance. Okay, so then I think now my code is finished. Okay, so I have set the constructor private, and I have defined a variable named instance. Its type is file manager, and in order to get the objects of this class, I have defined a method, getInstance method, in which the file manager object will be created if it is null. If already created, this created instance will pass to the client side. Okay, so then how we can call to this class? We don't need to this line now, so we can directly call to the file manager function, file manager dot get instance, then instance will return, and dot save function. So similarly you can change this called file manager dot get instance, then call to the function and file manager dot get instance. So if you want to remove this code, that means I have 3 times type this code. If you really want to remove these 3 lines, you can keep this as a command line to here, and you can pass to the instance to the file manager variable like this, file manager dot like this, file manager. Okay, so then you can replace this line like file manager. You can follow any method that you prefer. Okay, so now save, and similarly you have to do this for the student class as well. Okay, so I'll directly copy that line from there to here, and yes, that's finished. And let me test whether my code is working properly. Okay, so similarly as I did earlier, so it's working properly. So then now our singleton pattern is okay. Now we can complete the rest of the part. For here we can add the file writing code. Say for example, I already have implemented that one. I will copy and paste it here. Okay, file writing function. Okay, this test mean the results. This is the result that I want to write to a file. The result. Okay, so okay, I'll save this code and I will run it again. Okay, then this is the printing statement, and I have written this result to a code. Let me show you that one. Okay, you have to go to your NetBeans project and the project that you have already created, and you can see the test file already in that particular folder, your project folder. Here you can see I have written the result to the code, and if you want to continuously add to the results to this file, so you have to use a writing append function. Then I believe you know those basic concepts, so then you can do it. So yeah, this is how we can implement our singleton pattern. So what you need to do again, so first of all you have to make the constructor private, and you can define the variable in order to save the created instance. So then variable type should be the class type, that means the file, in our case file manager, and you can add a public static method to return the created instance. So this is the global access point that the other class can access the instance of this class. And there are other ways to implement the singleton method. So in different situations, say for example, this has been named as lazy initialization because this is not supported for the multi-threads, and this is checking first whether it is null and creating the, then only create the object. So if you want to create the thread safe singleton class, so then what you need to do, you have to do small modification, add the synchronized keyword to the public method where you have defined the get instance method. And the not only that, so when considering this one, there's an issue because you are checking instance whether the instance is null after applying synchronized keyword. So then you can make it more efficient if you first check the instance whether the instance is null, then only to add the synchronized method. So this is another variation. Please test this one by yourself. And this is the last variation of singleton. It is eager initialization. Here we are not checking whether the instance is null or not, so rather checking that create the object at the beginning because of its static. So when the class is loaded, this object automatically will create it. It doesn't matter whether other client classes use this class or not, so it's already created. When other class needs through the public function can take it. Okay, so if you need, I will do this one quickly. So what are the modifications need to do here? I will comment this one and I will add eager initialization. Eager initialization, you have to create the object of this file. Okay, you can check my sample code. new the file type. In here we can call to the constructor because we are in the same class. So then you don't need to check whether it is null or not because it's already created. So then you can remove this part and you can keep only the return statement because it's at the beginning it's already have created. So let me check my code again. So run file. Okay, it's working well. Okay, so that is about singleton pattern. Please try this by yourself. Then if you have any questions, you can ask from me. Thank you.